All right. Hey, Quants. I think I'm a little bit later than usual today, but I had a few meetings that I needed to get to. So back at the charts to start the week. I know Friday was a little bit crazy. I believe they had announced, I think it was Friday, they announced closing the Strait of Hormuz. And so as a result, we had crazy oil spikes. I haven't looked at that. We'll drop by that as we're going to other things. But the first thing that I wanted to just take a real quick look at was the VIX because even though I don't typically show this in terms of periods of super high volatility like this, I think you can find some good opportunities. I have a kind of a 35 up here just set for when I'm going to look at stuff. And we did get there at it was like 1 o'clock in the morning my time or something like that, 2 in the morning my time. Do I have the time zone set right? Doesn't look like it's quite right. So I think it was maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. But either way, I wasn't awake at that time. And since I'm just now at the charts, we're already back down to kind of believe this is close to where we were on Friday. Let's see. Friday, yeah, not too far away from where we were. I don't remember exactly what it was when I was looking at it on Friday. But anyways, I might go ahead and take a peek and see if there's opportunities for things right now. It can get crazier. I guess I'm just going to real quick zoom out to the week here. You don't see it go up that high most of the time. And so that's why there are a few times when that can be a good time to look for things. And so let me just go back to the daily. All right, let's jump up to Bitcoin for now. I think there were some interesting things going on with Bitcoin in the sense that with everything that's happened, it has not tanked out. And so that doesn't mean that it's necessarily doing well because we still have, looks like maybe a little bit of momentum coming up here. But if you're looking at the histogram, still haven't got a turnaround of the MACD here, the moving average on the MACD. So all that said, it's still just kind of hanging out in the range. We got that fake out breakout a little while ago. And so I just kind of fell back down to the range and it's still sticking out in the range. So I did mention after we got that break, if we stayed above there, I would expect to get somewhere close up to these 200s or these supports, which are all relatively the same area now. So somewhere between, probably around 85 and somewhere around 85 and 90,000, I would have expected us to get up to just as a kind of a retest of this kind of massive drop. That doesn't mean it has to happen, of course. We could just keep going lower. But with the significant decline and no significant retests, I was kind of expecting to see a little bit of retest. But given that, we could also just see more time occur, and then that could absorb any potential buyers, and then it just dumps out further. So that's another thing. You'll see the yellow lines that I have on my chart, and the reason I put those on my chart is because I did talk about this a while ago when we had when I was speculating or contemplating the potential of what earlier or shorter time frames might look like for this cycle. And so is this the right one that I put on here? Yeah. So I had here, I wonder if I should put let me see if this is a little bit more legible here if I put the text alignment up at the top. I think that might be a little bit more readable than down here at the bottom where everything else is. So let me just go ahead and stick those up to the top, and I'll update the other ones later. So yeah, so based on the shortest decline that we've had to date, we could potentially get a bottoming at that point. And again, when I measured these, it was from low to low. And so we have the high to high, and then we measured the distance, I believe, from the high to the low is what that was actually. So the shortest time frame from low to low was going to put it in this time frame. And so that was where the low actually occurred. That doesn't mean that it's bottom and it skyrockets up. It just means that that was when the bottom was in, and then we based out a little bit more. We've already been basing out a little bit more or basing out here. So again, doesn't mean that we won't go lower, but based on previous cycles, next week, I'm on weekly candles right now, would be the soonest I would expect this to end, just based on previous cycles. Looking at the longest, it was November of this year, which is, I know a lot of people are expecting that to play out, and I think there is a solid argument for that, considering that we have midterm elections coming up. And usually we dump out into the midterm elections, and then after midterm elections is when we finally get some momentum to the upside. So definitely would not be counting that out. But the last thing that I wanted to kind of mention here, and I left, it was the left translated cycle. I just want to take a quick look at that. So again, September 20th, 2027 would be the middle of the next 4-year cycle. And so based on tops to tops, and so meaning that we would expect a top to occur before this date. And so I just kind of wanted to take a peek here and look and see what that would look, just give it a glance and see what that might look like. I'm not really drawing any LARP lines like people do, but maybe I should. You could, if we did just kind of base around here a little bit, nothing crazy, and then we start going up, and then we maybe totally dump out here and then keep going lower. That could be how the left translated cycle plays out. However, I did mention that the magnitude of the left translated cycle is not necessarily guaranteed, and so it doesn't mean it has to go lower than the last high. It also doesn't mean it has to go higher than the last high. So I would just be, I don't know. I mean, I plan to be cautious either way, but the point about that is, like, this could totally shoot up here like this and then dump out, right? I mean, it could go all the way here before it actually gets the peak. That's the idea. And again, there's no guarantees there. I'm just kind of tracking this to see how it plays out. So I wanted to share that while I was, since I knew we were getting pretty close to the potential earliest bottom that I would expect. One other thing that I will mention is, if you're following me on X, I've been doing a lot more GAN astrology stuff on X. And in that context, we do have the spring equinox coming up, which is a pivotal date for GAN seasonal dates. It's also an astrological date. And so there is a potential for that to resolve one way or the other, or cause a resolution of one way or the other. And I've just been posting different information about that, kind of the statistics that I'm uncovering as I go through that. So if you're interested in that information specifically, you should check me out on X, and then you'll get those details there. I probably will cover that a little bit more as we get closer to the equinox date. Based on from 2024 to date, which might not necessarily be accurate because it doesn't cover a midterm election. When you're at a low already, it has a higher probability of resolving or reversing the trend to the upside. Now that I'm saying that, I still want to go through and look at midterm election years and correlate those as well. It'd be interesting to see how those play out. Just off the top of my head, I would not be surprised to see that, even though I don't want it to go lower, I wouldn't be surprised to see that go lower because we've already been seeing downside. And if we're looking at the weekly time frame, we do have like an ABC correction here, or we could have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a 5. So this could be your 4, but generally, if you're talking about GAN and you have an impulse wave down to an impulse wave, which would be 5 waves either up or down, you're going to have the law of alternation, meaning that if you have a sharp correction or a corrective wave, so that would be this looks sharp to me, so A, B, C, then I would expect to see a longer, drawn out, less obvious, less sharp type of corrective wave. And so that would just potentially mean for more bullish, not bullish, but more sideways action before we potentially move down. So that doesn't mean it's not, That's interesting. I'll have to look into it because I'm curious. It's not guaranteed that it has to alternate. It likely alternates. So let me put it that way. So I would expect that to happen based on the likelihood of it happening, or it has a higher probability of happening, but that doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to happen. So you could still have two essentially sharp corrective waves, but we didn't get very far up here. So I would expect to get a little bit closer. I'm not checking the fibs here. That's what I'd want to do if I was doing some Elliott wave stuff, but let's go ahead and move on because I did say I was going to stop by oil and I didn't do that. So let's just take a real quick peek at oil. I heard it was selling off pretty hard. No surprise there considering we had like $120 per barrel. Holy cow, that was huge. So these things are crazy. So yeah, that was a big move. Obviously, if you were playing the master strategy, you potentially could have gotten here, although just touching this, you might have sold some of your position. And then once you start getting up into these crazy numbers, then I would have been selling those off. So actually, let's go back. I just wanted to check here while we're on stream and see how hard that was selling off, or if it was even selling off, because I heard it was, but I just wanted to confirm. So let's go back to the daily time frames here for looking at gold. Gold is actually, just kind of basing out here. If it continues to base out here for a while, I mean, this looks like it was topped out and was going to resolve to the downside, but it hasn't done that yet. These candles aren't negative, I would say, or bad. They don't look like reversal candles to me. Maybe if I still got the momentum coming down and it's just kind of going sideways. So if if it continues going sideways and these continue to go down, I would consider that a bullish reset, meaning that there's a good chance that we would see this resolve to the upside with all the crazy stuff going on. I don't think that would be too crazy to see or expect. So we'll wait and just continue to watch that a little bit more. And then jumping over here to silver. Silver's already got low on at least on the MACD. There's still room for the moving average to move down and for the stochastics to move down. So definitely a little bit more clouded, I would say. Just no man's land here. It does have it does have a bullish trend on the Gann swing indicator. Looks like we got that after we probably just on this candle here actually. So I think it just turned up here. But right now it looks like it's chopping in a range, so I probably wouldn't put much to that unless it actually breaks above this previous high. So again, definitely a little bit more, that looks a little bit more difficult to me to try and actually trade that. So I just kind of wait and see how that's going to go. That is going to be it for today. I'm going to get back to doing some building. I hope everyone is having a good one and staying safe out there, and we will catch you on the next one. Peace, Quants.